they're trying to get at that window.
I I am down with the theory. We
That's my
we are
theory.
letting we are letting people in.
Okay, good.
And James, I'm going, good morning to everybody. We realize that it's Juneteenth. Actually, we are closed today, but James and I decided to keep our class. So thank you so much for being here. This is obviously a very important topic. And James, I'm going to make you host now. I'm going to give you the power. So let me know when you get the
It says
notification.
you are the host now, so I got it.
Bam. We did it. We did it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Juneteenth. In real estate, we don't really honor like holidays. Christmas, we take a day off for Christmas. We take a day off for maybe Thanksgiving and 4th of July, but like there's all these other holidays that I've I just work every day.
We're still here. We're
I'm always
still
kind
here.
of working, right? So sorry for
Yes.
scheduling it on this, but I I did I was telling Pamela I took an opportunity to learn about Juneteenth because I don't really know it very well. It's new to me. So I have a little slide and we'll talk about Juneteenth for a minute. Let
I'll
me
let
know
you
when.
know when that is up. And everybody, I just want to say I'm recording this. You'll get the recording. James, I'm not sure if you're planning on sending out your presentation, but oftentimes people ask.
I
Um,
will. I have a whole thing prepared. Um, I have a link that has all the slides and it has links to some of the books that I'm going to be recommending. And it has links to a video that I'm going to, anyway, I've got this whole like digital resource ready to go. So, and it includes the slides.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to you, everybody. I'm Pamela Zemp with Fidelity. Thank you for giving James and I a bit of your time. This is your hour. So please, I will make sure, James and I, last time we did this, I will monitor the Q&A. Just look for the Q&A function and type any questions in there, and I will make sure they get to James. I'll just pause him periodically through our presentation. And thank you again for your time.
Can you guys see my screen? They
Not
changed they
not
changed
yet.
the way Zoom kind of is laid out.
Yeah, it
Oh,
did
here it is,
do
share.
an overhaul, and it's
Yeah,
right at the bottom there. It should be
I see
your
it.
share button, and I
Cool.
will, okay, it's coming up for you.
All right, winning
Hey,
strategies for buyers agents, how to elevate your process, maximize your value, and lock in your commission, right? That's what we're all about. But yeah, first, as I was talking to Pamela, I just wanted to take a minute and talk about Juneteenth. Today's June 19th. It kind of snuck up on us. It became a federal holiday um, 2 years ago, maybe 2021 or 22. It was sort of like in the middle of COVID chaos. It became a federal holiday, and I was not that familiar with it conceptually, but it's long been celebrated in the African American community as America's second Independence Day. It's where we celebrate the end of slavery in America officially. And you know, when you study history, Abraham Lincoln, proclaimed the end of slavery in the 1860s, but then it wasn't just like that. There was like this slow kind of process. It took decades for it to kind of really metastasize into everybody's life and into the fabric of the United States. And so it was a overlong process for sure. But we had a Revolutionary War to declare our freedom to be our own country in 1776, but we weren't a totally free country until after we had to fight another war, the Civil War, to really unlock true freedom for everybody in America. So I guess that's what we're celebrating today. So with that, I'm going to get started. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. I want to share a little bit about myself. My name is James Adair. I'm a lender. I've been doing this a long time. I I got licensed before I even had to get licensed. I started working in the mortgage industry in 2003. Um, and I guess one of the reasons why I might be qualified to talk about how to be a buyer's agent, especially in light of this NAR settlement, what I call the post NAR settlement era, which is about to begin. I've created what I would consider successful real estate uh, client pipelines in many different versions of our market and industry. It was the subprime era, where there was all kinds of different lending outlets and products, and the appetite for mortgages was much different than it is today on the secondary market. And then, I saw the market crash in 2008 and 2009, and then we got completely transformed. The government started regulating the mortgage industry in a completely new way. Invented something called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which governs the mortgage industry, among other things, and lender compensation reform. I've been through lots of major changes, and every time I've had to kind of pivot, adapt, and then I call what's happened before now the rise of internet empowered real estate. We've all had to kind of change how we communicate, how we connect, how we market, and then how we add value to the process, where for, most of the 90s and the early 2000s, the value of a real estate agent was actually having access to the real estate information. Now that's not the value anymore. We've had to change how we insert our value into the process. And now we have what I call the post NAR settlement era. So my, I guess, credibility for coaching you guys through this is that I have adapted and reinvented my practice 3 or 4 or 5 times in over my 20-year career. And I believe we're all going to have to reinvent our practice again this summer, this year, if we haven't already. I can already tell that the behavior of realtors and real estate consumers is already changing. So we're going to have, and most realtors have what I call a formalized process and a formalized presentation to their clients, specifically about listing and selling their home. But the buying a house, some agents have a formalized process for showing how they're going to help buy, but for the most part, it's just much more casual and friendly. And hey, I'll help show you some houses. Like, what are you looking for? And like, let's go look at houses. And you don't have to sign someone to a contract or explain your role in the process. That's what's changing, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, I also like to start by saying I know you have lenders that you like to work with, but and I have realtors that I like to work with as well, and I have title people that I like to work with, like Fidelity title and escrow agents. But you know, I try to create a true partnership with the agents that I feel blessed to connect with, and I really try to avoid and get out of being a vendor. Like, I don't. My goal is to add value, add ideas, and help you level up your business in a very tangible way for my partners. And I'm not here just to provide mortgages to my real estate partners and give good rates and close on time. That's all sort of table stakes. I think for the real professionals, we want to figure out, how can I make that client give you more referrals? How can I make our process stickier and more exciting, more referable, right? So that's kind of where my energy is mostly spent, is in client experience and presentations like this, like helping you and helping you figure out how to truly use what we talk about, what I've learned in my 20 years of being coached by some of the top people in the country, to help you convert at a higher level and create something that's really something to be proud of. So here's my agenda today. We're going to do 5 things. I have a ton of slides. I'm going to try to blast through them really quick. This is recorded, and I will offer some time to follow up and do some one-on-one targeted coaching afterwards. And I will share all these slides and all the scripts and the book recommendations and the downloads and stuff that I'm going to be sharing along the way. So, but first we're going to talk about value. There's a lot of, everyone says, oh, you have to show how you're going to be valuable. And we're going to get really scientific about how to create value out of thin air. And we're going to talk about your buyer consultation, a formalized process, secrets of gaining trust, because we're not just explaining how we're going to help people buy a house. We're going to ask them to sign a contract with us. So we need to gain their trust. Leveraging your lender, right? The lending process has become super critical. Every realtor, especially on the buy side, needs to level up their understanding of how the mortgage process works, specifically with regards to how to build in and finance your compensation or partial compensation, as the case may be. So we're going to partner with your lender to explain how to build in your compensation in a way that works for them and that they're happy to do is going to be really important to knock out of the park on the front end. So we're not scrambling to have that conversation if we're in a situation where the seller's not paying a compensation in the future. And then step 5, moving your clients from confused to confident. That's the key. So I've talked to a lot of agents about what's to come with this new regime, the new, everyone has to be have a buyer's agreement. What's it going to look like when we're shopping for homes and we don't know if there's any compensation offered with the listing? And there's a spectrum of reactions to this. Some agents I work with feel like this is really not going to change anything. Some people at my company feel like this is going to be a huge shift. And some people, some of these agents that aren't prepared are going to be shocked. I don't know I really don't know what to expect. I grew up in a real estate family. My mom, when I was a teenager, my mom was a real estate agent. I grew up in North Carolina. She was a top producing agent in Raleigh, Chapel Hill, North Carolina in the late 80s and all through the 90s. And she's retired now, but I was picking her brain about it because I didn't realize that the idea of buyer's agents was new. Like when she was an agent, there were no buyer's agents. If you help someone buy, a house, you did not work for the buyer. You worked for the seller, and the buyer would have to sign some kind of document saying buyer beware. So the idea that buyer's agents, is a whole new concept. That surprised me because it's been a concept ever since I've been doing this work. And so some of my mom's associates that are still in the business and that had been doing it in the 90s are kind of like, this is just like going back to how it used to be. It's not a big deal. But I think there's going to be some new way. We're going to have to adapt, and we're going to have to learn how to talk about it in ways that that our clients are going to have to learn, and they're going to expect us to be able to explain this to them quickly and clearly. And one of the things that's not changing, I mean, all these changes that are happening in our industry, the fundamentals of successful real estate business are not changing. So it's still about who has the most conversations with the people that need to buy or sell, who gets the most appointments, and who has the most agreements. That is still going to be true. So let's talk about mastering your value. There's that's kind of a buzzword right now. Like, why should someone pay your fee? You're asking them to sign a contract with you and pay you 2.5% of whatever you buy. That's now explicit. It used to be implicit. It was kind of implied. Now it's explicit, right? You have to explain to them when they see, hey, you're going to pay me $15,000 or $18,000. Whether or not the seller is going to pay it, you have to pay me. And you have to get them to agree to that before you show them a house. we have to make them confident and make them understand why it's worth it to them to do this, right? So I'm going to share some information with you. This is answers a survey of 1,000 consumers. And this is done by 1,000 Watt Consulting, which is actually a Portland-based um, real estate marketing firm and real estate data and information consulting firm. They asked 1,000 consumers, why do you feel the services of a real estate agent are not necessary when buying a house? They asked people, what do you think? What do if you don't want a realtor, why not? And they think 45% say because I can find homes for myself online and then I can see them at open houses and I don't need a realtor for that. 38% said because it seems simpler to me just to work with the agent who's representing the seller. These are pretty big percentages here. And 16%, because I don't think what real estate agents do is hard and I'm confident I can do it myself. So that's the smallest group. This is the hardcore, super challenging clients. And then here's another question. Which of these statements do you think is most true? A real estate agent who works for buyers can often get a better deal from the seller and their agent. Only 21% agreed. A real estate agent can find homes for sale that may not be found online. So 1 out of 4 agree with that. And most of them said a real estate agent can help buyers make smarter decisions looking at the pros and cons of buying a home, translating inspection reports and disclosures, or interpreting the fine print of the paperwork. So this is where the market is mostly. And that I think that's true. And that is once people are really into the process, they realize how overwhelming it can be. So we need to express that, right? We need to showcase the benefits. So here are some good examples. This is really kind of blurry. I'm going to lean in. Here's some content examples that you should be thinking about posting in order to meet the market where it is in light of their attitude around should we even engage with the buyer's agent, right? Here the caption says, important work happens after find happens, right? When it's time to evaluate, strategize, and negotiate, this is where we earn our keep. That's the caption. And the message is a Zillow search is easy. Successfully negotiating with sellers in today's market is hard, and we take care of the hard part. That's a great post. Killer or nice, a deal killer or nice to know. So this is kind of making the inspection period a little bit more scary for people. They don't really know what they don't know as they embark on a home purchase, navigating the home inspection. This is what we do, right? Do you have a buyer? If you have a buyer's agent at your side through offers and negotiations, it means you get experience-backed translations of everything that may come up in the process. Is this a big deal or not? We help you sort out confusing disclosure reports, right? Those are great. A moment ago, we said 38% of the people felt like it was easier to work with the agent representing the seller. Is that a good idea for buyers? In most cases, no. So how can we educate people to be more informed? This is a problem we need to solve, right? The market feels like I can just work with the agent. They're not aware of what it means to have buyer's representation. A seller's agent is always going to put the seller first. Having a buyer's agent ensures you get as much representation as they do from offer to close. So really just clarifying that if you work the seller's agent, you're getting a compromised, like dual agency, you're getting a compromised experience. Sort of like if you went to court and you just let the prosecutor represent you as well, right? It's like you would never want to do that. True representation is never double-sided. A seller's agent represents the seller. What about you, right? So I just think that is that's a good way to, I don't know, engage the audience, that percentage of people who feels like they don't understand what a buyer's agent does. So I want to take a minute and talk about value. I'm going off script here a little bit. I added these slides. Everyone's talking about providing value, and I'm starting to feel like it's losing its meaning. But I have a mentor of mine uh, taught me once that two things must be true in a value proposition. One, and that's why I have the Zen master here. This is like a Zen. This is like a Zen concept. Value must be visible, and the value must be valued by your audience. Both of those things are true. And it seems obvious, but I encourage you to stop and think about it, because you might change the way you operate. And then there is this other thing that I learned very recently called the value equation. Has anyone heard of this here? Anyone on this? This is credit to this internet guru named Alex Hormozy. He's wrote a book called $100 Million Offers. And he's not a real estate guy at all. He's like a muscle man with a big beard. And he's kind of like a Gary V type internet, business guru. But he's a really clear thinker and a clear speaker. And so after in the follow-up to these slides, I'm going to send you a video of him explaining the value equation that he developed. How do you create value? It's your client's dream outcome times their perceived likelihood of achievement divided by how long is it going to take for them to achieve it times how hard is it going to be for them to accomplish it. That equals value. So there are 4 dials that we all have access to that we can tweak to create our value proposition, right? And so when the value must be valued by your audience, that's the dream outcome. Are you sure about what your client wants, right? And are they sure that working with you will increase their likelihood of achieving it? So think of Amazon in terms of value. Your dream outcome is to get get Alex Hormozy's book. Your perceived likelihood of achieving that dream outcome is 100%. So you've got your outcome, they can do it. They can, if you have a Kindle, you can be reading it immediately. 0 time delay, 0 effort and sacrifice. That's valuable, right? And I want you to notice most services are operating above the line here. The dream, like, let's talk about your dreams. Let's talk about how we can help you achieve your dreams. But companies like Redfin and Zillow are laser focused on what's happening below the line, right? They're trying to get the bottom to 0. If they can make whatever this is happen immediately and with no effort, they're going to win, right? I had a client who was referred to me by a realtor partner of mine. This is a true story from this is like a month ago. Referred to me. I talked to them. I had a meeting with them. I got a loan application, pre-approved them. We had a plan and everything. And then over Memorial Day, they called me and said, "Hey, we're writing an offer. Can you send a pre-approval letter to this Redfin agent?" So they did not go back to the original agent who referred them to me. And when I challenged them on that, like, why aren't you working with the agent that referred you to me to begin with? And they said, well, they just didn't know. They didn't understand. And the guy was like, I just kind of became obsessed with real estate, and I was up at 1 a.m. and I had Redfin open, and I scheduled an appointment the next day, and I met the guy there, and they just kind of pulled him into their little process. There was 0 time delay, 0 effort on his part, and he just kind of he wanted to buy this house. He wanted to see this house. They wrote the offer. The offer got accepted, but then they terminated. So there's a happy ending to this story. They terminated that offer, and then my buyer actually reconnected with the original agent, and now we're in contract with the agent. He has a buyer broker agreement, etc. But that was a real light bulb for me on how aggressively these internet real estate companies are in, intercepting and creating a value proposition for our buyers, right? So I just would I would recommend you take time to consider how you're addressing each one of these four dimensions in your process and in your offer to buyers and sellers, right? Ask your client when you're meeting with them, what's your dream outcome? Like, right? And then just be quiet and let them tell you, right? And then perceived likelihood of achieving that outcome. This is where you show testimonials, case studies, and possibly you guarantee their outcome, right? Those are the simple ways you can kind of dial that one up. And then below the line, how quickly can the outcome happen? How much effort or friction will they have? How many problems have you solved before they even know there were problems, right? So we'll table that for now and come back to that later. But that's how you can really amplify the value you can present to your clients as a real estate agent. So let's move into the buyer consultation and the buyer service agreement. We want to get a signature on that, right? Who here does buyer consultations, like a formalized process? Can show of hands.
And everybody, you can type it in the Q&A if you do that. Yeah, we've got somebody, Maria Bolton, of course you
Of
do.
course.
Yes, of course she does.
Are you getting signatures on your on buyer agreement at that time? Is that what's happening now?
It sounds like they are, and
Good.
we've got a couple people too. Laura as well is doing that, but I'd be curious. And Heidi Settlemeyer too. She is doing that.
Okay, good. Well, my goal is to help you be more effective today with your buyer consultations. So I've got some scripts here. Here are note, and then in this opening statement, this is kind of how you can open up your conversation with prospective buyers. And note, this is 3 questions and 1 statement of fact. And someone taught me this a long time ago. It's maybe obvious, but it's good to be reminded. Whoever is asking questions is controlling the conversation, right? So when you're giving a buyer presentation, it's easy to just start rolling downhill and just like describing. But if you can try to put in pauses where you're asking a question, you can pull them back in. You're taking control back. And when they're answering a question, they're feeling heard, you're bonding. There's all kinds of good things happen when you ask a question and they answer it. So you might start with, can you tell me what your experience is regarding what it takes to purchase a home in this current market? What do you understand about the steps involved to make sure you get the right house that you really want at the right price in terms that are agreeable to you? And here's the statement. With all the changes happening in real estate, it's important to understand how everything works, including how professional agents like me are compensated. I like the word compensation, by the way. I know a lot of times people talk about fees. They talk about commissions. I would encourage you to jettison those words and replace with compensation. It's a more professional word. People don't want to pay commissions, but they want professionals to be compensated, right? So it's a weird kind of it's on the line, but I think compensation is the key word for 2024. Would it help if I walked you through all of the services that we provide someone in your situation, whether it's a house you find yourself online or if it's one we find for you, to make sure that you have all the information you need to make informed decisions? Of course, they're going to say yes. And then you want to offer a time frame and you ask an open-ended question. Our next step would be to arrange a consultation so we can understand your home buying goals. The consultation typically lasts around 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but we can take as much time as you need. So this is where I think things are changing. And this is where we're going to insert the new part of your process where we have a formalized buyer consultation. Ideally, you've got PowerPoint slides like this. Maybe you do Zoom and PowerPoint in this situation is like money. So like put together 5 to 10 slides of your own that describe, the dream outcome, perceived likelihood of success, case studies, some information like a roadmap of how the process works. Bring them into the process and show them how you are the professional, right? So I would strongly encourage you, if you're not doing that, this is the summer. This summer, we're going to start doing that. So it's not just like, hey, let's go look at some houses at an open house, and then you're kind of the casual, friendly buyer's agent process that you may have been used to. Now you have to explain to them why you can't really do what you need to do unless you have a contract with them, right? There's no pressure to work with me after this consultation, but I'm confident you'll find the information and guidance valuable. What does your schedule look like in the next few days, right? Um, and here is this like absolute info dump of all the things that great buyer's agents do. And if you, at the end of this, I will send you a link. If you do, are people here have accounts with Canva? Because I can send you I'm going to send you the PDF of this, but if you, I also have a link to Canva. If you click on the link, open it in your Canva, you just drop your own logo at the bottom. It's so easy and quick. But this has all the things that you're going to do for them. Again, we have to, these are things you've always done, but now we just need to formalize these things. We need to give this process a name. They're not hiring you, the realtor, they're hiring your process's ability to solve their problem. That's kind of the mindset shift that I want you to embrace as we go into this. So the National Association of Realtors are great partners in in doing this business. Have provided some stuff too. You can scan these if you have a minute right now. You can scan it and download it. Again, I've already downloaded it, and I'll send it to you afterwards as well. They have created some documentation, not unlike this, but these are like kind of glossy 8-page, documents with like beautiful photography and stuff in them. So why are people reluctant to sign an agreement? Are people here, has anyone gotten resistance from your buyers in signing an agreement with you? Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, type that in the Q&A, James. I was actually going to ask that. And then if you have, and then you have a success story, can you give us a couple lines as to how you overcame that? If anybody's willing to do that, please put it in the Q&A. That would be cool to know. Thank you.
So the reason why anybody's reluctant to sign an agreement is they're just not serious, they're not motivated yet, or they're unsure of what the agreement means. They don't, like, people are unsure of signing a binding contract. And so if they're unsure, in real estate, it's kind of funny. There's a lot of energy, a lot of sales training devoted to overcoming objections. And I am not a huge fan of that kind of energy, that kind of conflict. If someone has an objection, just ask more questions, find out why. If someone has an objection, 90% of the time, 9 times out of 10, it just means that there's something happening inside of them in their life that you don't know yet. So it just means you need to ask more questions and help them understand how that signing the agreement can actually solve for the problem that they're having. Or you'll realize, like, actually maybe you aren't serious, maybe you shouldn't buy a house, right? So and have you guys heard of a primary buyer agreement and a secondary buyer agreement? Is that a concept that has taken root in real estate? Let me briefly explain the difference between these two. So primary buyer agreement, that's what we want. You want a buyer consultation in person. You sign this exclusive buyer broker agreement, and then you onboard them, and they're your client. You help them buy a house. And so this agreement outlines my responsibilities and my compensation structure, which we can review together if you have any questions. Would you be interested in taking a few minutes to go through this agreement to see how it can benefit you, right? positive framing and next steps. So with everything we've reviewed, are you feeling confident about moving forward with this agreement and getting started with your home search? Right? That's a great question. Are you feeling confident about moving forward with the agreement? Yes. Or like, I don't know. Okay, well, let's pause. If someone expresses resistance, slow down. Okay? Slow down and give them space. Ask more questions. Find out why, right?
Hey,
Overcoming
James,
reluctance. Yeah.
when you have a moment, I was gonna read some of the feedback you got.
Okay.
Um,
Please.
so Tom is saying in regards to people signing an agreement, he says, no, they're ready to sign before I finish explaining all that I do for them. That's awesome. Uh, Michael is saying, I had someone say they wanted the seller to pay. I'm sure that's going to come up. Nicole is saying, finding that some sellers want to try the new opportunity to not pay buyer's compensation for a twist on your question. And then Maya is saying buyer compare the Redfin 1.5% or MLS compensate 2 to 3% to buyer agent only with RMLS subscriber. So need lots of details on the buyer agreement. Interesting. Yeah. I know that Redfin does confuse a lot of the consumers too. The fees add up. I've heard a lot of that.
What are you talking
But
about? So what is Redfin doing differently?
I think that some people feel like they got hit over the head with some hidden fees, and I'd have to do a deep dive into that. But that has been some feedback that I've gotten
On,
from other
on the listing side
people
or on the buying side?
on the listing side in particular.
Sure.
So yeah, buy side I don't know, but Maya's talking about the buy side here. So interesting.
So I think I'll get to in the section where we talk about partnering with your lender, um, someone who, so you're saying someone, I can't remember who just said this, but someone who is reluctant to sign an agreement that says, oh, they're the like, I'm just going to go to the listing agent person, right?
Yeah,
That's kind
we
of
had
that.
Michael say that.
That's how
If
you
they
would avoid paying a buyer's agent, is just not having is representing yourself and going straight to the listing agent. So I would say in a competitive market such as we are in, I mean, we're in a kind of a clunky market, I would say. Like half of the market is like really tight, multiple offers, and then some of the market is drifting. But if they want to buy one of those multiple offer houses and they don't have a buyer's agent, forget it. Like if you're a listing agent and it's multiple offers and someone shows up and they're like, I don't have an agent. Like, does that make their offers weaker or stronger? You know, I think it makes it weaker. I think most agents know that it's a better offer when it shows up attached to a professional buyer's agent, especially a buyer's agent they've worked with before. That's the best offer they can get. Like, oh, I know this agent. This is a good offer, and this is a good agent. This is going to be a good deal, right? So that's the highest level. So if you can sort of paint that picture for your clients, if they're thinking they're going to get a better deal by not having a buyer's agent and not paying that compensation, it's like, do you want to save the compensation or do you want to successfully close on the house that you actually want to live in, right? Anyway, so that's, and you're not going to get it all, right? Lenders have been doing this for decades. Lenders have to explain because we're strictly operating in the realm of cost and people are just cost shopping all the time. So we have to really get into the value conversation. How are we really going to help you get your offer accepted? How are we going to help you manage your debt repayment? How are we going to help you succeed in knowing when to refinance and how that's going to impact your financial life? How are we going to help you understand how homeownership and debt is going to connect to your ability to retire in the way that you want, right? So an internet lender is not going to have that conversation with them. So we have to really think about second and third order consequences of buying or not buying. And when you can do that, the value of these real estate assets just dwarfs whatever fee, whatever compensation you're getting from it, right? So you want to show them how you're going to help them achieve this real estate goal, right? So I understand why you're hesitant about the buyer agent. So, okay, I got off track there. Focus on benefits. So that's kind of what I was talking about. This agreement ensures that I'm fully dedicated to your successful completion of securing the right home for you. Even to me, even as I read this, so I didn't write these scripts. Um, this is written by an associate of mine named Jeff Zimpler. Um, The agreement ensures that I'm fully dedicated to your successful completion of securing the right home for you, acting solely in your best interest. I mean, that's true and that's great, but I don't think that is the reason why someone wouldn't sign. I think they want to, it's about money, it's about value, right? It's about my, I will work in your best interest. I have developed relationships, I have developed a process that is designed to give you even more success in this market, right? That's kind of what I would encourage you to be able to create a script like that and then deliver on it, right? Without this agreement, I would not be able to deliver, my process to you in the way that we need to do it to make it work. Discussing compensation. Um, I would love the opportunity to represent you for any home we find. If you choose a for sale by owner, God, when's the last time anyone saw a for sale by owner? I haven't seen one in years. But maybe they'll come back in light of all of this NARS. Maybe we'll see an uptick in for sale by owner, where the seller offers no broker compensation, and we will negotiate differently if the listing already has compensation built in. Many times sellers will offer broker compensation. The fee to my brokerage is 2.5% and may be covered in the seller's offer. However, if they offer less than our fee, then we would negotiate differently. I'm going to take a timeout here as well. I actually changed the words on this because I feel so strongly that we're missing the boat in in the way we describe compensation. First of all, you got to use compensation. So I changed the word, not commission, as compensation. And the compensation, I would say this isn't the fee to James the realtor or Pamela the realtor. This is compensation that's going to my brokerage. And my brokerage splits that up, and my actual compensation is a portion of this fee, right? So I think that's the way to describe it. Understand these are getting split across brokerages, and then through the brokerages it comes down to you. And so I just think it's more accurate, and it's easier for them to understand that, like, wow, this $18,000 is going all to you. Like, that's crazy. You say, no, this goes to my brokerage, right? And then my compensation is a portion of that. I think that's easier for them to understand, and it sort of puts you more on their team instead of like, I'm taking this money out of the deal for myself, right? I just think it's important to insert the brokerage into that conversation. Does anyone have any? I mentioned that to an agent once, and she thought that was not correct. She's like, but the money does come all to me. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, so I'm a lender. I'm not a real estate agent. Like, am I off base on that? What does the group think?
Michael's saying, I agree with you on the brokerage compensation presentation, and Pam is saying, I agree with you. And I was going to comment that I have seen actually a lot of brokers break it down. This portion goes to my brokerage. This goes to taxes. This goes to the marketing fund. and all the things that you have to do as a broker to expose the property,
On the listing
or
side, I think, yeah, on the
on
listing
the
side, I
listing
think,
side, but on the
yeah.
buy side, all the things that you have to do in the way of time and breakdown. I think it's been really helpful for them to show that on the buy side and not just the list side.
So yeah, I
And you're
think it's
getting a lot of agreeing on from the crew here today.
good, good. Okay, cool. Because that's another thing my mom was saying. I was kind of like workshopping this with my mom, who's like the, retired agent, and she was really emphatic. She was like, "You gotta, this goes to the brokerage," and because she's old school, she always had a, 70-30 split with Prudential Real Estate or whatever she was working at. So she was like, "Yeah, that goes to the brokerage, and then it, splits off from there." Do you think that people are reluctant to compensate agent? The good news is that they are not reluctant. Good news is that when present that they expect you to get paid. They don't want you to work for free. Of the 1,000 would-be homeowners, the same 1,000 we've been talking to all along, over 20% of the respondents would pay at least 2.5%. 37 would pay up to 2%. Um, so we're at 5 plus 15, 20, 57% are paying at least 2%. And then you've got some knuckleheads down here that are cheapskates, but I think once we educate them, they would probably join the majority. So if they say, "I'm not ready to sign an agreement," you have to acknowledge that. You can't, that's an objection again, slow down, ask more questions. I understand completely. You may want to get a feel for this market before committing to a full service agreement. But the good news is I can still help you at this stage. We offer options like short-term buyer agreements or a single home buyer agreement, right? So you got to get them signed to something. So this is the secondary buyer agreement. So it's not like you're my client until we buy a house. This is you're my client, for the next 5 days, and then it expires or something like that. Why don't we put together a short-term or single property agreement? I want to make sure you have proper representation in the event that you're interested in a house you find this weekend or while you're in town, etc. I'm confident that once you experience the value I can provide, you'll want to be onboarded as a full service client. So this is sort of a trial run in the short-term agreement. For example, a short-term agreement would allow us to focus on your search for the next 30 days. That way you get a head start with my expertise and guidance without a full-fledged commitment. And you want to highlight the advantages of it. You can't do this unrepresented, right? So keep in mind, venturing out on your own might seem appealing at first, but when you're starting to like write the offer, like who's going to provide the paperwork? Where do you begin, right? Or multiple offers without representation can be tricky. With this short-term agreement, you'll still have access to my negotiation skills and market knowledge, right? Would you be interested in learning more about how a short-term agreement could benefit you? Okay, offer to show matching properties. In the meantime, I can still show you some properties that seem like a good fit based on our initial conversation. What features are most important to you in a home? So I guess the point here is if they're not ready to really sign an agreement, you don't want to just be like, "Well, you're not going to be my client then." You have to be able to kind of meet them where they are and then try to work them back up to a full agreement. Right? So we got to be patient. We got to highlight the benefits of having you represent them even in a shorter time frame. And have you guys ever heard of this book that's kind of taken it took the mortgage world by storm last year. It's called Exactly What to Say. Have you guys heard of this? And now he came out, it's written by this guy named Phil Jones, and he wrote a new version of Exactly What to Say called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. And I love this book. I don't have the one for real estate agents. I have the original Exactly What to Say. So I'd be willing to, if anyone wants to meet up with me and review some of these concepts next week or in the weeks to come, I have like 6 copies of this book. I'd be willing to give you a copy. So let's get into leveraging your lender, right? Again, this is super important, especially when we're talking about how are we going to absorb and structure. That's a good word. Learn the word structure. How are we going to structure in compensation in the event that the seller is paying no compensation or only partial compensation? Well, the lender will show you exactly how to do that. So as we embark on your home search journey, one of the most important steps is getting pre-approved for a mortgage. This will not only give you a clear picture of your buying power, understanding your budget, it will make you a stronger contender when submitting offers. You can't write an offer without telling the seller that you have, talked to a lender, that you're ready to buy. You're real, right? You're a real buyer who can execute. They're not going to take it off the market for someone who has not been vetted by a licensed lender. To help you navigate this process smoothly, I'd like to introduce you to my lender, a trusted mortgage lender I've worked with extensively. He or she has a proven track record of securing excellent rates and terms for my clients. So that's what buyers think they want, but focus on the benefits. This lender understands the local market, can tailor financing solution that meets your specific needs. It's going to save you time and ensure you're pre-approved for the right amount. Offer choice and transparency, right? Of course, you're welcome to shop around for a lender, but I'm confident that this lender can provide such exceptional service. The choice is entirely yours. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the pre-approval process. Would you be interested in connecting with my lender to discuss your financing options, right? So these are all just great, easy ways to kind of move to close ranks with this buyer, bring your team, your trusted team around them, and make sure that that is, would you agree that having your lender in the mix with your buyers improves your outcome, improves your process, and it makes it so they're getting your standard of service? You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't get your lender mixed in and it goes sideways, who's that reflect on? If you were like, oh, I was hoping you'd use this other lender. Oh well, you just use this guy. And even though they know it's not you, they're having a rough ride in the home buying process. It's like you're going to get sprayed with some of that mud, So it is super important to make that clear to your clients, that it's really important to at least be exposed to other lending options. So of course, you're welcome to shop around for a lender, but the lender you choose can have a profound impact on not only your buying experience, but also your ability to get your offer accepted, right? I'm confident that James's ability to team with me to deliver an exceptional process on all levels, right? The choice is yours. So, you don't want to be like, you have to use James or you have to use my lender. And I'm happy to answer any question you might have. I'd love for you to take a meeting with my lender. They have an amazing process. We love working with them. And again, I have a certain standard of service that I know they will meet or exceed, right? So that's why it's important that you talk to them. I just added that myself. So next up, would you be interested in connecting with this lender to discuss your financing options? So you want to make sure your client, like an easy way if they already have a lender, right? My brother-in-law is a lender out of Oklahoma. Okay, great. Well, that's fantastic. Having a pre-approval is a great first step. Can I ask, what kind of loan options did your lender discuss with you? Right? The reason I ask is because sometimes, even with a pre-approval, there might be other options available that your current lender may not have mentioned, which could save you time, could save you money, could expand expand the type of homes you could even be looking at. Would you be open to hearing what my lender has to offer? Right? So you always want to just kind of bring that in, because that's an extension of your process, and it's an extension of your value, right? So I already have a lender. So this is another version of I already have a lender. Ultimately, my goal is to ensure you have the most competitive financing option for your situation. And if you feel like the lender you've got is great, then let's ride with that, right? The decision is yours. You want to obviously be clear about that. But with your permission, can I connect you with James to explore all your options? They might have insights your current lender hasn't mentioned, and it's all about ensuring you have the most options. So even if you choose to stick with that lender, I'm still here to help you navigate the entire home buying process. Does everyone feel good about that? Are you guys feeling like that's appropriate, or is that something you feel confident in doing? I think having the right lender team in this environment it's always important, but now it's like even more important because my process when I work with my partners is when they refer me, my job is to understand what's important to them, what are they most proud of about their process, what are they most proud of, how can I edify that, how can I turn up the volume on why this agent is such a wonderful agent to be connected to and how lucky this client is to be working with them. So that's a huge part of what I do from the jump. So at just creating that confidence with them, they're confident that they are with the right team and that this team can achieve that dream outcome, right? With a high likelihood of success, with not much time delay and not much sacrifice on their part, right? So I'm constantly like trying to like manipulate those dials and give them confidence. I have experience, I have a lot of reviews, I have a lot of clients that can say, hey, these guys, worked miracles for us at the this team was great. That collaboration is key. Um, Communicating with the realtors and my team and the realtors team behind the scenes, but also on a proactive, ongoing basis. Um, it's a process, right? So the more you do it, the easier it is to do in the future. And so I use a piece of financing software called Mortgage Coach. It's pretty common. Actually, the guy who invented Mortgage Coach is a guy named Dave Savage. He lived in Lake Oswego for a really long time, but he just sold the company to private equity, and I think he must have made a bundle of money. And now he lives in Newport Beach, California. But the software still remains. It's awesome. And so one of the things I do is help my buyers understand how to structure in commission. So for instance, here's a $10,000 commission. List price is 500. If no commission's offered, but we have to add it and finance it, you can see here's what it's 55. It's a $55 a month shift to add that $10,000 a month. So no big whoop, right? So it's not like you have to fork over $10,000. It's no, we're going to build it into the deal and effectively finance a portion of it. And it doesn't affect you as much as you might think. And then I can I also show what happens if the property doesn't appraise, especially if we're going up market or we're adding, the house is listed for 500 or we have to write an offer above bid over ask and then add commission. I have to show the buyer what happens if it doesn't appraise. And I also want to show the seller that we can still finance the commission even if it doesn't appraise. So we can cover that gap. And I'd be happy to show you guys offline how that works. Obviously, part of the dream outcome is like, I want to buy a $450,000 house and I want my payment to be $3,000 a month. Like that isn't really lining up right now. But with seller buy downs, you can make that happen. So this goes back to showing them how to be strategic and how we structure financing goes back to the value equation. That's their dream outcome. And like, here's how we achieve it with a 2-1 buy down. Boom, you've got your payment and you've got the price all lining up, right? So how is your current lender helping you in today's market, right? My goal is to partner and strengthen your value proposition, help you understand how to amplify your value in the mind of your consumer, right? And how to grow your business. How is your current lender helping you win, right? If you're just getting rates and service, perhaps we should talk, right? How open would you be to a conversation to help you strategize a value proposition to help you succeed with first-time home buyers, with first-time home sellers? That's another thing, is that a lot of people who already own a home and would want to move feel stuck right now. And the last class we did a month ago, I don't know if you were here for that, we have all kinds of bridge financing and cash buyer programs designed to unlock people who are feeling stuck with all this equity and a cheap mortgage, and they're not like super motivated, but they're kind of like, I know I'm going to need to move eventually. Um, so that is what I'm doing with my partners right now. I'm kind of coming to an end here. Oh, I also have this another Canva. It's like this 30-page home buyer's guide that I'd be happy to show you how that works. And I'm going to leave this up here to download. It is 11 o'clock, so we're almost down to the end of the hour here. So please scan this. And it's a two-step process. If you scan this, it opens up your SMS, and it says press send to receive the link to our resource. So it'll come to you via text. You'll get access to download the 91 Things Buyer's Agents Do. You'll get the 2 NAR PDFs with the itemized job descriptions. You'll get today's slideshow, a link to Alex Hormozy's value equation. It's a 10-minute video. It's so cool. And it's got 2 Amazon links, one to the Phil Jones book. It's got a Canva link to the buyer's book. So this is just a ton of stuff here that you can download. So please scan this and then hit send, and it'll send you the link. And that's our show
Thank you.
for today.
And I did want to say to everybody, James did a class on, this was a few weeks ago, on the different programs that Neo Home Loans offers, and the cash buyer one is exceptionally cool. So not only with these things that we discussed today, meeting over coffee, but I would want to have some of those home loan programs in my back pocket. Highly recommend a coffee with him to learn more about those. That was a super cool class, and we should actually do that again and invite everybody on this call to that. And I did want to say too, on sorry, James, on the Fidelity side, we have a Fidelity agent net sheet app. And right now with your buyers, they want to know, what is my payment going to be on a property? If you're interested in receiving the net sheet app, it's entirely free. It is so easy to use. We've had this for over a decade. Just shoot me an email when you get your certificate, which will be tomorrow because Fidelity's shut down today and our education coordinator is not working, but she will send them off tomorrow. Just let me know if you'd like it, and I'll send you credentials so you can download it. But it is really nice to have that on the fly. James is always there to give people estimates as our escrow officers, but sometimes it's 2 a.m. and you need a net sheet, and it'll be right there at your fingertips.
Sometimes it's 2 a.m. on a federal holiday and you need a net sheet.
That's right. Sometimes it's Juneteenth and you need a net sheet.
What was I going to say? I forgot. I was just, yeah, I think that, yeah, I'm just here to help you guys succeed. If you're looking at this on a mobile phone and you can't scan this, you can just email me. My email is james@pdxhomeloan.com. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about real quick the buy before you sell program that we did a deep dive on last month. That's a great way for people who in your database that are like, I'd love to buy, but there's just nothing for sale. And when something comes on the market, it goes pending in 48 hours. Like, how can I pull that off? Right. So the buy before you sell programs allow them to either get a bridge financing and then have a down payment and waive contingency on the sale, so they can buy the house non-contingent on the sale of their house. So they buy first, they sell second. And so that's a great conversation to have with people you've already helped buy, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. And another thing about that buy first and sell second, it helps buyers waive contingency. So if you're on the listing side and you're receiving multiple offers and maybe one of them's a contingent offer, having awareness of this program can help. You can help call that agent and say, hey, I know how to, your buyer might be able to waive their contingencies if they use some of these programs, and just put them in touch with my team and I can suss that out for them and maybe expand your ability to lever up stronger offers for your listing, right? And again, just knowing stuff like that, knowing these nuances, this should be a slide in your listing presentation, right? I know how to help you waive contingency on the buy side. And if we get multiple offers and some of them are contingent, I can show them how to waive contingency to help sell your house faster, help those buyers that are going to buy your listing become more competitive. So there's all of these things should be formalized in your mind and put it on the PowerPoint slide. Show them all of the ways that you're solving problems that your clients can't even imagine the kind of problems that you're ready to solve for them, right? They just think, oh, I found the house and they wrote it up and bought it and then they got 20 grand and that was crazy, right? But you have to like slow it down and show them all the things you're doing and show them it's not 20 grand to me, it's 20 grand to the brokerage, et cetera, et cetera. That's why it's important, I think, to formalize that. That's a word that I use a lot. Again, thank you. I'm sure we're winding down here. Have an awesome week, and guys, keep me in your prayers. I'm jumping on an airplane tonight. I'm taking a red eye. I'm chaperoning 13 eighth graders to Washington, D.C. We're going straight to the Heat Dome, and yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to be out of town this weekend. I'm going to be sweating.
Good luck with that. We'll be
Thank
thinking
you.
about you. And thank you everybody for your time today, and look out for your credit tomorrow. And if you're interested in the Fidelity Agent app, just let me know. And we look forward to seeing you again on our call. Hey, bye everyone.